CloudTrade's rule system. An introduction. When people first think of the problem of extracting data out of orders and invoices, they imagine they'll be considering documents such as this. Fields are all of a fixed size with padding so nothing moves below them. Everything is always in the same place. Tables are simple and well behaved. Such documents do exist, and extracting data from them is pretty easy. The purchase order, for example, will always be here. The total will always be here. The table will always start here, and the columns will always be in these fixed places. With a little bit of effort, you can deal with some variation in position if you can anchor your box against some piece of text. Things may have moved around because of the long customer address and extra items in the table, but the total box is always a fixed space to the right of the words total invoice. Though this can be problematic if the anchor text appears more than once. Unfortunately, when systems produce invoices, purchase orders or other documents for human beings to read, they don't consider the difficulty that this poses for computers to interpret. Things don't just move around as we saw before. They wrap over lines, especially in tables. Things appear, disappear, rearrange. Sometimes critical information such as the payment due date or payment terms is embedded in free-flowing text, which is very hard to read. New information can also appear in tables. Table lines can turn into paragraphs with page breaks anywhere, including interrupting paragraphs, and then the subsequent pages having different header information. When all of this starts to happen, you can't predict where data is going to be by just pointing somewhere on the page. Although as a human being you have no difficulty explaining where something is, what you need is something that can turn that explanation into something that can be done by a computer. The traditional answer to this problem has been to define two data capture systems, one which is easy to use for all those cases where information doesn't move around, and one which is much harder to use for the cases when it does. Generally speaking, you need a computer programmer to handle those hard cases with this traditional approach. Why is that traditional approach so hard? Why does it cause up problems? It turns out there's an awful lot of these hard cases, and traditional software vendors have washed their hands of them. They simply export the raw data into a programming language and let a programmer sort the headache out from scratch. In other words, they go from something that looks like this into a collection of data and coordinates, and just let a computer programmer using something like VBA sort out the headache. In other words, every time you want to capture something hard, someone has to write an individual computer program with all of the associated cost and maintenance nightmares, which is no wonder that these traditional easy data capture vendors try to tell you it's impossible. This is where we come in. CloudTrade is not a traditional data capture vendor. We have developed a solution which makes a hard capture easy. We've patented a rules-driven approach which is purpose-built for the problem. Although our rules writers are not programmers, and our rules are easy to write and understand, our rules system can readily handle all of the problems you will encounter when getting data from a document. Because CloudTrade's solution is not a general-purpose programming language. It has been specifically designed to tackle the data capture problem. Our motto is, if a human can understand how to interpret a document, then CloudTrade can implement and automate that understanding using rules written by a non-technical rules writer. And of course, because we can do this, we now get asked to capture all sorts of information which would have been unthinkable in the past, such as banking details and VAT numbers hidden in wraparound text, or delivery addresses and contact details and phone numbers with the individual parts of the address such as the postcode properly identified. line level details such as start and end hire periods and special instructions, or line level VAT details with VAT table lookups. Basically, our rules writers can capture anything you want. CloudTrade has developed a new patented solution to the problem of data capture, one in which non-technical rules writers, after a week or so of training, can write rules which are easy to understand and maintain, and which can capture data from a document however that data is presented. As a result, CloudTrade now tackles data capture requirements previously thought impossible, because with our solution, everything is possible.